Hyundai made an undeniable statement with the all-electric Ioniq 5. That car's crazy cool looks, futuristic cabin, and impressive powertrain have made it a favorite among EV shoppers. So I flew all the way to Korea to drive the follow-up act to that car, the 2023 Ioniq 6. As you can see, it has many of the same ingredients as the Ioniq 5, but it's packaged in a very different way. Does this EV sedan have the same charm as its beloved sibling? Let's find out. And let me remind you to please give this video a like and subscribe to the Edmunds Cars channel. And if you're looking to buy an Ioniq 6 or get a cash offer for your used car, go over to edmunds.com/sellmycar. Now, at first glance, it's kind of hard to pinpoint what the heck the Ioniq 6 is. Hyundai calls this an electric streamliner, which is a nod to its very, very low coefficient of drag. This car pulled a 0.21, which is very efficient. That's a very nerdy way of saying that this car's super duper sleek form factor helps it cut through the air like butter. And that does some amazing things for its range, as we'll talk about in just a bit. Now, the Ioniq 6 rides on the same eGMP platform as some other cars you might know, like the Kia EV6, Hyundai Ioniq 5, and Genesis GV60. And like those cars, this will be offered in both rear and all-wheel drive with multiple sizes of battery pack. One more quick caveat. The cars we're driving today are very early in production and they're all Korean spec. So that means some of the numbers we go over are all subject to change before the Ioniq 6 hits the market sometime next year. Now, Hyundai is no stranger to making love it or hate it designs, and I have a feeling the Ioniq 6 is gonna go down the exact same way. You form your own opinion. What do you think about how this car looks? Let us know in the comments. What I'm gonna do is point out some of my favorite design details. Let's start right here. This is kind of a weird thing to point out, but this is called the wheel gap reducer. It's an additional piece of cladding that they put on to, again, reduce the gap between the wheel to the front of the wheel well. And all that does is it directs the air in a more efficient way, and again, improves this car's overall range. Then we gotta park it right here, because as you can see, these are not traditional looking mirrors. Now, unfortunately, these are not yet legal in the United States, so our market will not get these. But these are full on camera mirrors. It gives you a full-time camera feed as the driver to your left and to your right. It's kind of trippy at first, especially if you're not used to this. Very cool, very futuristic. The antenna on the back of the car is actually transparent. Now, the designer said there wasn't a particular reason they did this other than just to be a little bit playful and to show off the crazy technology that's going on. You can see all the sensors and the other components, especially in the sunlight. And while we're here, we have to check out the craziest angle on the Ioniq 6, the back. We have not one, but two different spoilers and two rows of pixelated lights. That's of course part of the Ioniq line's overall design motif. And other than that, just a roof line that absolutely drops off from the sky. Love it or hate it, there's nothing else on the road that looks like this car. Inside the cabin, things are much more closely aligned with the Ioniq 5. You'll notice the same side-by-side displays, similar materials all around, and identical climate controls. Because the 6 has a similar long wheelbase, it keeps things nice and roomy inside. You can probably guess the only weak point, which is rear seat headroom, thanks again to that sloping roof. Legroom in both rows is stellar. Hyundai added some cues to make the Ioniq 6 feel more upmarket. There's gorgeous multicolor ambient lighting all around with tons of different colors. The center console, which has all of the window controls by the way, is perfectly flat, so you can use it as a table for your laptop in a pinch. Everywhere else there are sustainable materials, like carpets made from recycled water bottles. The seats have real leather though, at least on the highest trim level. The headline story with new technology is the addition of over-the-air updates. Tesla, Polestar, and Ford all have them, so it was time that Hyundai finally got on board. Through OTAs, Hyundai has the capacity to make improvements to the charging capabilities and battery performance, in addition to software changes. This is not offered on the Ioniq 5, at least not yet. Hyundai even had some fun with the drive modes. With a feature called EV Tune-Up, you can control the steering feel, acceleration sensitivity, and get this, even the amount of horsepower the car is putting out, which is actually my cue. It's time to drive. So I already mentioned that you can have your Ioniq 6 in more ways than one. And the car I'm driving right now is the top spec. So that means dual motor, all-wheel drive, and the bigger 77.4 kilowatt hour battery pack. That means I'm working with 320 horsepower, 446 pound-feet of torque. I would love to show you what that feels like, but as you can see, we are in stop-and-go traffic, which has pretty much been the story of the day, driving all over the outer Seoul area. And you know what, speed bumps, speed cameras, there's basically a million different ways that they don't want us to drive this thing quickly. That does give us a time to talk about the other important figures with this car, mainly the range and the charging. That estimate is based on the standardized range test that's used in many other parts of the world, including Korea. Our own US EPA test tends to produce lower results. Based on WLTP figures, we can see that this car has some serious gains over the Ioniq 5 when it comes to range. I don't think it's out of the question that the dual motor version could do over 300 miles and the single motor long range version maybe over 350 miles. And that's before we even talk about charging. We know the Ioniq 5 is kind of a charging hero. This car is the same story. We can do 10 to 80% charge in just about 18 minutes. And just like the Ioniq 5, the 6 is capable of doing vehicle to load charging. So you plug in the adapter and you can plug in really any major appliance or take some of the charge from this car and transfer it elsewhere. But you know what? In this stop and go environment, the Ioniq 6 does a great job. It's a very relaxed driving experience. It'd be a great commuter car just to get to and from the office. The steering inputs are nice and calm. You don't have to constantly make adjustments. And I love that there's different levels of brake regeneration. So here on the paddle on the steering wheel, you can turn it off if you don't like it, or if you're like me on the opposite side of the spectrum, you can turn on one pedal driving. It'll bring the car to a complete stop without having to touch the brake pedal at all. And while I don't exactly have the opportunity to open this thing up and really see what it's like, I do know we'll have the chance in the coming months to get this thing back in the States in the Edmunds real world testing loop where we can really give it a shakedown. There's also some good news in knowing that Hyundai will most likely do a faster version of this car, probably to be called the Ioniq 6N. We know that their N cars are great in combustion form, and we're excited to see what they're like in electric form too. I came into this first drive wanting to know whether or not the Ioniq 6 actually has what it takes to live up to the Ioniq 5, and in short, yes, it does. What remains to be seen is whether or not this car's unique styling and less practical interior space will hold it back from selling in huge numbers, and, in the process, take away sales from Tesla's juggernaut Model 3. The other piece to that puzzle is actually knowing this car's price, which Hyundai has yet to disclose. At least this week, Tesla prices the Model 3 starting at $48,490. That number includes the $1,200 destination charge and the mandatory $250 order fee.
A few moments later.
It wouldn't surprise us to see Hyundai try and undercut this. We expect to find out the Ioniq 6's pricing and other important info like the EPA range closer to when this car goes on sale in spring of next year.